I am not having a very good recording session. First, my dad decides to watch football in the basement the second time in a row where I've had to record a video. And then my sister shows up and then I have to record the entire video all over again. I'm suffering. Please help me if you're watching this. Anyways, welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we will be talking about what if Marcy and Sasha switched where they landed in Amphibia, Part 2. Make sure to like and subscribe because I am desperate, and enjoy the video. Handy Ann would end up staying the same, and in Fort in the road. Since Marcy and Grime are traveling as well, we would all have a second wagon being pulled by a tarantula. Eventually, they make it to the ruins of despair, and it's break-in, and chaos starts. Marcy would also love the fact that they're exploring an ancient temple filled with robots, and with Grime there, he might break the entire system before Frobo can get fully built in order to save Hop Pop. And so Frobo is never born. We're only an episode in, and the main character is dead. This is gonna be interesting. In the Ballad of Hoppediah Planter, with the assistance of Grime and Marcy, the group easily takes down the frogs terrorizing the small town in that episode. And Hunter never happens since everyone has an entire other wagon they can store food in. Truck Stop Polly would also never happen since Marcy could have simply read a story to Polly until she fell asleep, which I'd honestly like to see. That sounds adorable. A Caravan with Desire kinda stays the same, and Coral's Pass would stay relatively the same, just with Marcy and Grime present. Toadcatcher never happened since 1, Reunion never happened, and 2, Grime is literally right next to Ann and the Planters. Swamp and Sensibility might never happen since Marcy has the materials and experience to fix Bessie's ring, so they pass through Ribbitvale, brushing off that they saw someone who looks just like One-Eyed Wally. During Wax Museum, Marcy would not have a hood on when going into the Curiosity Hut, so she catches the curator's eye before Ann does. Eventually, Ann finds the Skip Man and wants it, and decides to trade it for a day of both her and Marcy being the main attraction for the day. So they both go back there during the night, and both get trapped by the curator. But since Marcy, like Sasha in the original timeline, has weapons on her at all times, she easily breaks both of them out. Marcy then takes down the curator, goes back to the wagon, and gets everyone out of there before anyone wakes up. Before we get to Marcy at the gates, or in this case, Sasha at the gates, we need to talk about what Sasha has been doing in Utopia this whole time. When she first got there, she was weirded out by the walking, talking newts, a bit scared, but mostly grossed out. When she's taken to King Andreas, she treats him like all the other newts, but a lot more scared because of his ginormous size. Because of this, Sasha doesn't immediately become a little Master Sasha like Marcy did in the original timeline, but has to earn it, which she does due to her incredible strength. Over time, she comes to like the newts. After all they've done for her. She has a very salty relationship with Lady Olivia, however, as she tells Sasha to follow castle rules, and she's all like, screw the rules, like the teenager she is. The opposite can be said about General Union, though. Sasha ends up becoming good friends with Union, and they bond together while stabbing terrorists. In Sasha at the Gates, Sasha comes in to save everyone from the barbarians, and the three girls reunite at last. The plan to stop the barbarians is different, though. Since Marcy hasn't had access to the books Newtopia provides, she hasn't had time to study barbarian biology, and Sasha thinks she's above studying when she's a general. So instead, simply, instead of simply scaring away the ants, Sasha plans to full-out kill the queen. Sprig also sees no suspicion in Sasha, since as far as he's concerned, all humans are nice and sweet, since those are the only ones he's met. Once everyone gets to the queen, they all work together to cut open her stomach. This causes the other ants to flee. Then, as the episode ends, all three of the girls talk about their experience in Amphibia while Andreas plots evil. Scavenger hunt would never happen because King Andreas wouldn't give Sasha a puzzlegram. That's not something Sasha would want, she would just want to get straight to the point. The planters' check-in stays relatively the same, but Marcy would tell Andreas about the temples, but they don't know where they are. In Lost in Newtopia, Sasha wouldn't want to spend time studying with Andreas, but instead spend time with her BFFs. Marcy, on the other hand, would be thrilled to learn more about Newtopia, so she helps Andreas with studying. Sasha is able to teach Anne and Polly the ropes of Newtopia, so they never get themselves into trouble this episode, which is very rare. And at the end, Marcy and Andreas find that secret door in the library, like in the original timeline. Sprig gets schooled would stay the same for Little Frog Town. In Hopping Mall, Sasha has the idea of teaming up on the Smash and Mash Derby to increase the chance of either winning, why did I say it like that? Dang it. To increase their chance of either winning. While Anne and Sprig work together, Sasha would work with Grime, who actually does something in this episode. And with that, they easily win, but Anne ends up giving the teapot to Brazilla the Killer and receives the butterfly in return. The sleepover to end all sleepovers would stay the same until the ghosts show up. Like Marcy and Dan said, Sasha is the only one brave enough to not get into the Book of Losers, and a couple of ghosts aren't gonna stop that streak now. Because of this, everyone ends up staying in the basement and eventually find the ghost's weakness. After all, there are a bunch of mirrors down there. And they defeat them without even leaving the basement, so they don't have to add their name to the Book of Losers. The day at the aquarium would never happen because Sasha would come with them. It's not like never seeing her friends at Newtopia again is a big stake, since she has Joe Sparrow and not a lot of friends. So everyone gets ready to go back to the valley. However, before everyone leaves, Andreas gives Sasha a proposition. He tells her that if she brings the charged music box back to him, then she can stay in Amphibia. After all, it's not like has a lot going for her at Earth. She would have school, a bunch of rules to follow, and whatever's going on with her parents. Meanwhile, in Amphibia, she gets everything she wants: power, control, and friends. And as an extra bonus, she can have full control over the music box. For a moment, Sasha does something she hasn't done once in her life. Hesitate. Hesitate about manipulating her friends. But this is too good of an opportunity for her to pass up. Plus, as far as she's concerned, there is only pros in this situation. so no one would be mad at her for manipulating them. If anything, they'd praise her. Night drivers would never happen since it would be harder to drive 2 wagons to the valley instead of 1, so Sprig and Polly just go to sleep. Meanwhile, the ghost hitchhiker drives both of them back to Wartwood and to their respective place. Marcy and Grime to Toad Tower, and Anne and the planters to Wartwood. And in the morning, they would have no idea what happened. Return to Wartwood would stay the same, as well as the shut-in and Ivy on the run. After the rain would never happen since Anne never gave Hop Pop the music box after the Bazaar, so he never buried it. In the first temple, Sasha would bring Yunnan along with her to the temple, and Marcy would bring Grime. With all this extra help, the fact that Anne has no tension with Hop Pop, the first temple goes by quickly and uneventfully. Yunnan and Sasha would help with the first 2 trials, but eventually the game of Flip Fort is too much for even Marcy, as there are just simply too many pieces she needs to make sure don't get attacked, and through it, Anne's insecurity about Marcy being smarter than her re-emerges. But when Marcy loses the game of Flip Fort, she reminds Marcy that no one is perfect, not even her with her big brain. When everyone leaves the temple, while everyone else follows the arrows to the outhouse, Yunnan decides to go back to Joe Sparrow. Then, in the middle of charging the stone, everyone hears General Yunnan screaming, so Marcy quickly takes the stone out of its charging station thing, and finds out Yunnan just saw a grub hog. Marcy wonders if the stone was charged enough, but from what she could see, it looked green again, and it was showing everyone where the next temple was, so it must have been, right? New Wartwood would never happen, since the frogs of Wartwood have already gotten used to Marcy, and Sasha doesn't really care what they think about her. Friend or Frobo would also never happen, because I feel like I'm obligated to remind you that Frobo is dead. Toad to Redemption would never happen, since Grime is still the captain of Toad Tower. Marcy and Maddie would stay the same. Then comes the second temple. Marcy, Anne, and Sprig are surprised to see Valerian again, and she is happy to help everyone get to the second temple. During the first trial, Sasha straight up slashes the Cardinal with her sword, disappointing Val, but then Anne and Sprig go to see if the Cardinal is doing, and help it get it back up on its feet, giving Val some hope. She scolds Anne like she does in the original timeline, but is much more harsh with Sasha, telling her to just go back to the tent. A short argument breaks out between the two, but eventually Sasha goes back. However, once she's out of sight, she goes back and follows them because her inner teenager told her to. At the second trial, when Anne goes to the abandoned igloo to save anyone that could be in there, so does Sasha. The two run into each other. Val and Anne start fighting. Val teleports Anne to who knows where, and the fight becomes physical. From here, the episode goes the same, with Anne and Marcy Stone being mostly charged. Barrel's Warhammer never happens, since there's no one left to create a Toad Rebellion. Bessie and Microangelo would stay the same, except with Sasha's presence and Frobo's absence. In the third temple, since Frobo doesn't exist to open the door to the temple, Polly just blows it up with some boom shrooms. Sasha also starts bossing the planters and Grime around, causing some tension between Anne and her. Not as much tension as in the original timeline, but enough to be a major plot point of the episode. The only other difference is that there is no true colors foreshadowing at the end, as there's no Toad Rebellion planned. Sasha would also be the one to convince the girls to get the music box to Newtopia. Why am I stuttering so much? Why am I like this? But anyways, other than that, the episode stays relatively the same. Since neither Marcy nor Sasha have done anything wrong to Anne and the Planters, the dinner goes on with relatively no tension. The volcano still erupts and there's still a massive battle, though. In Battle of the Bands, despite everything Sasha has been through, she still has her tendencies to be in control, so this episode stays the same. And finally, true colors. The Toad Rebellion never happened, so we can skip to Andreas's betrayal. Andreas uses the music box to summon a bunch of robots, and everyone gets ready to fight him, including Yunnan, who is finally story relevant. Then Sasha confronts Andreas, reminding him that this wasn't part of the deal. Andreas then exposes Sasha, telling everyone about the deal him and Sasha made before everyone went back to Frog Valley. Everyone is furious at Sasha, but don't focus on her as there's an evil Newt King trying to take over Earth right in front of them. Before the fight starts, though, Andreas tells Sasha that, unlike he did with Marcy in the original timeline, Andreas wasn't necessarily lying when making the deal. She can stay in Amphibia, have control over anything and everything, even the music box, and for the first time in random channel history, God dang it. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah. And for the first time in random channel What If history, the universe splits into two. A universe where Sasha finally gets some character development and fights against Andreas along with everyone else, and another universe where her lack of character development catches up with her, and she continues to serve Andreas, thinking that she can fix her and Marcy's friendship later. Because as far as she's concerned, the only people that need to live on Earth are Anne and Marcy's parents. And maybe hers, who knows. Let's go with the universe where she fights against Andreas. Then the rest of the episode goes the same. Epic fight. Polly gets some legs. Sprig almost dies but gets saved by Sasha and gets cool anime powers and beats the heck out of Andreas, and then some fire sword backstabbing. And that, my friends, is part 2 of What If Marcy and Sasha switched where they landed in Amphibia. In part 3 we'll cover season 3. In part 3 we'll cover season 3, and in part 4 we will cover that alternate timeline that I mentioned. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe like I said in the intro, and have a good day or night or evening wherever or whenever you are watching this, and bye.